Last night, Blake Lively broke her silence regarding the Justin Baldoni drama, appearing on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
And there's actually video footage of her pointing like this.
Blake Lively is spiraling after Seth Meyers accidentally pulled the mask off her carefully curated act.
Yeah, now I'm afraid to know too much about star signs, but yeah.
It's really hard to watch her now, I can't lie. It is really hard to watch her be this fake person.
Blake Lively's meltdown wasn't just emotional, it was explosive. In a jaw-dropping moment on Seth Meyers' show, she went from teary-eyed victim to full-blown rage, screaming, storming off set, and even appearing to lunge at a child backstage. The cameras didn't catch everything, but the internet did, and it's ugly.
What I can say without going too into it is that this year has been full of the highest highs and the lowest lows of my life, and I see so many women around afraid to speak, especially right now, afraid to share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent.
Seth exposed her darkest manipulation yet, a carefully staged act built on twisted narratives and performative pain. So what set him off? And why is Hollywood still shielding her from total cancellation?
She seems to be on this tour that's painting herself as a hero for all women. And it's pretty frustrating how Seth and just Hollywood in general seems to be accepting it. Right out the gate, there's just a level of awkwardness because, yeah, the dress doesn't fit his small chairs.
There are certain guests where I'm like, I really should just go back to a suit for tonight. This is a fantastic outfit.
Wear your wedding gown?
Blake Lively has long worn the crown of Hollywood royalty. America's golden girl with a Pinterest-perfect life. The charming smile, the high-profile marriage to Ryan Reynolds, the flawless red carpet appearances. She's the woman who could post a blurry photo of avocado toast and somehow make it a headline. But that golden sheen, it's rotting from the inside out. What once looked like elegance now reeks of calculation, and her carefully curated image is collapsing in real time. It all came crashing down at a recent high-profile charity gala meant to raise awareness for survivors of domestic abuse. Blake didn't just show up. She dominated the event. Center stage, spotlight, a flowing white gown that screamed purity, redemption, and most notably, victimhood. But here's where the internet exploded. She wasn't a supporter. She was positioning herself as the survivor, without ever giving details, evidence, or even confirmation that she was a victim at all.
But you can't believe everything you hear, you know? And, that's what it's feeling like, because there's more evidence and stuff that's painting the picture that Blake Lively's not being honest. And also, what are you afraid of? And what did he actually do?
And of course, she spoke to Seth Meyers beforehand on how they could, they had to mention something about everything that's been going on. And she said on his show that she couldn't talk that much about it.
It didn't take long for the backlash to detonate. Critics labeled the stunt as emotional bait, calling it a masterclass in curated victimhood. How do you go from joking about having an Oakland booty and thirst trapping in Vogue editorials to suddenly standing in front of abuse survivors like you belong there? The shift wasn't just jarring, it was strategic. A move many now see as a PR Hail Mary after a string of career misfires. And the contradictions keep piling up. While she clutches a mic with tear-filled eyes, old clips resurface of her mocking trauma tropes in comedy sketches. While she bathes. In applause from media outlets, actual survivors struggle for a platform. The gap between her performance and reality is wide, and getting wider. What was once seen as inspirational is now viewed as opportunistic, and the audience? They're no longer buying tickets. Hollywood has a long history of selling us illusions, but the mask on Blake Lively is slipping, and what lies beneath isn't the misunderstood icon we were sold. It's a woman who turned tragedy into theater and underestimated how loud the backlash would be when the curtain finally dropped.
But I also acknowledge that many people don't have the opportunity to speak, so I do feel fortunate that I've been able to.
I don't know what to say. I feel like right now, the people that are most upset with Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, they're everywhere. We cannot open any website with any entertainment news without seeing them. Wearing something different in every photo, in every occasion, and posing in front of the paparazzi, signing autographs.
As Blake basked in applause under chandeliers and flashbulbs, The people she claimed to represent were watching, and they weren't clapping. Survivors of real, harrowing domestic abuse took to social media, not with stylist-approved soundbites, but with unfiltered rage. The kind of rage that comes from seeing your pain exploited like a Netflix plot twist. A video from a Scarface survivor went viral overnight. Over 3 million views in a single day. A woman, visibly scarred from a violent past, stared into the camera and said, "I didn't need a silk gown or a press team to survive. I needed an ambulance. Blake Lively doesn't speak for me." That video struck a nerve, and the wave it unleashed was seismic. TikToks, Instagram Reels, and Twitter, now X threads, multiplied by the hour. The term emotional cosplay began. Trending used to describe celebrities who perform pain rather than live it. And Blake was front and center.
Smiling, being happy, and feeling popular. It's exhausting. So this is what they're trying to do right now. And of course, she arrived in style in a white gown or dress. White is the color of innocence. I don't think that was a coincidence. I don't think anything with Blake Lively right now is a coincidence.
But the outrage wasn't just about her, it was about a system that lets elite actresses dabble in tragedy without consequence. Real survivors don't get stylists, they get restraining orders, they don't do press junkets, they do therapy. One post read, "While I was testifying in court against my abuser, Blake was probably negotiating brand deals about it." Another added, "She's LARPing as a victim. I'm still paying for the damage he did to my jaw." And what makes it worse? The timing. Blake's reveal came just weeks after her latest streaming project flopped, her first major PR misfire in years. Suddenly, her vague references to trauma pop up like a plot twist that conveniently redirects the headlines. Coincidence? The internet doesn't think so. This wasn't just tone deaf, it was hijacking. Survivors saw their own stories being twisted into costume changes and soft lighting, and they're done staying quiet. Because when someone who's never shown up for the movement suddenly claims its spotlight, without evidence, without accountability, it doesn't just feel wrong. It feels like betrayal wrapped in designer silk.
They're trying to overwhelm us with appearances. So all that negativity that they received will be pushed down in Google and on social media, because now it's all about them looking pretty, looking in love, a lot more in the movie. She's carrying the movie, so Blake isn't even in it that much. But yeah, please stop. Seattle Times is saying the plot is a mess and the runtime is overlong. The Guardian says another simple favor drops threads and drags on, but survives on its self-assured baseline pleasures.
It wasn't just the words Blake Lively said, it was what she wore while saying them. Because when she entered that gala draped in a blindingly white couture gown, it wasn't fashion, it was a message. A costume, a weaponized look meant to scream purity, suffering, redemption. But here's the thing, real survivors don't get to costume their trauma, they don't get makeup crews to powder away pain, and they sure as hell don't have a stylist selecting the perfect shade of victimhood. Social media exploded with comparisons between Blake's look and religious iconography. White flowing fabric, soft lighting, almost angelic imagery. One viral post read, "She didn't dress like a survivor. She dressed like the Virgin Mary with a PR crisis." That wasn't hyperbole, it was backlash to the optics war that Blake seems to be waging. While survivors wear their scars, she wore designer empathy.
To know what's going on. The clips I've seen, it just reminds me that Blake Lively is not a great actress, and apparently Anna Kendrick is a lot more in the movie.
The whole thing is just starts awkward out the gate, and shows just admits to how controlling this couple actually is.
Emily is a changed woman in this movie. She drinks martinis with ice.
That's very exciting.
Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
If you saw the first one, you'd understand why she has beef with ice.
Yes, I was like, yeah.
Do you in life have beef with ice?
No, I love ice.
Yeah, I like ice too.
in my milk.
I think the first time we got an ice machine in a refrigerator.
Anyway, they go on a whole monologue about ice. Blake Lively starts quoting and singing from Frozen, and it even quotes our honest trailer, "We are making ice." We did that in our honest trailer. I was proud of that song.
And let's not forget how calculated the outfit was. Blake's fashion choices have always been dissected, yes, but this wasn't Met Gala camp, this was strategic costume design. It matched the exact tone of the narrative she was now selling, that she's not just Hollywood's sweetheart, she's misunderstood, mistreated, morally cleansed. except the public isn't buying it anymore. We've seen this playbook before. Dress up trauma, look into the camera with glossy eyes. Let the media do the rest. But something about this one stinks, and people are starting to say it out loud. It's not just fashion, it's fabrication. And worse, it feels like erasure. Because while Blake floated through flashing cameras looking like a walking prayer candle, real victims were grappling with what that image meant. It told them that if you don't look beautiful while suffering, you don't matter. If you don't have Vogue aesthetics, your trauma won't trend, and that's dangerous. Turning victimhood into a vibe sets the movement back years. It tells abusers that survivors can be marketed. It tells survivors that unless your pain looks like Blake Lively's, no one's going to listen. And that's not just tone deaf, it's toxic.
It is nice though, because they're honestly, I mean, it's no surprise I've had like a pretty intense year, and like they're just my lifeline. Like no matter what day I'm having, I have to be Disneyland every day for them, and so it's.
They're my lifeline, and then she turned it. You hear how she did that? It's been she sets it up so it's clearly open for now. Seth can bring it in. They're my lifeline. Oh, they've taken me away. And there's one where you're like, oh, it's so sweet. You can go be with your kids because they don't read all the news and they'll love you. They're unconditional, etc. But then she's like, it's like I have to pretend to go into Disneyland every day. Oh, it's such a chore for me. It is so hard. It is so hard for me, people. Oh, will you please give me more empathy? Because it's so hard being Blake Lively right now, having to go to my nannies and everybody and all these trips where clearly my kids aren't here.
Then came the moment no one expected. Seth Meyers, the usually polished, politically savvy late-night host, broke ranks. And he did it with fire. On his latest episode, during what viewers thought would be a throwaway celebrity segment, Seth unloaded, publicly, unapologetically, on Blake Lively. No cue cards, no soft punches, just raw, boiling truth. He started with a calm tone, showing clips of Blake's gala appearance. But then his voice shifted, growing sharper, angrier. You don't get to wear trauma like it's borrowed jewelry, he snapped. You don't get to co-opt pain to fix your public image while people are still bleeding behind closed doors. The studio audience went silent. This wasn't a punchline. This was a call-out. And it hit like a hammer.
The whole thing just starts awkward out the gate, and shows just admits to how controlling this couple actually is.
Emily is a changed woman in this movie. She drinks martinis with ice.
That's very exciting.
Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
If you saw the first one, you'd understand why. And it's the women who have had the ability to use their voice that's kept me strong and helped me in my belief in my fight for the world to be safer for women and girls. It's a pretty simple thing, but nothing. Thank you. It's true.
Seth didn't stop there. He referenced specific allegations from Blake's past, moments where she allegedly bullied staff, blacklisted actresses, and manipulated her image while stepping on others. He even hinted at stories the media agreed not to run in exchange for access to red carpet exclusives. The implication? Blake's entire persona is built on controlled narratives and quiet coercion. And Seth, he was done playing along. Viewers were shocked. Seth Meyers, of all people, blowing the whistle, but it made sense. The industry is shifting. Whispers behind closed doors are turning into microphone moments. And what Seth did was rip the velvet curtain wide open.
And I think for all, like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way. Someone sent me this video today. I had heard about this incident that it happened, but I hadn't seen any video proof of it yet. But here it actually is. When you think about all these things that she has accused him of, and then she comes on national television to talk about how she's the voice of all these women out there.
That segment went viral in hours. YouTube clips titled "Seth Destroys Blake Lively Live" racked up millions of views. Reddit threads exploded. Fans started digging. Suddenly, old stories, ones that got swept under the rug, were resurfacing with fresh eyes. A stylist who claimed she was blackballed, an extra on a set who said Blake humiliated them in front of the crew, a child actor who said she nearly hit him in a rage during a commercial shoot. All things that never made it to the headlines until now. And in one explosive interview, Seth Meyers did what no outlet dared. He shattered the illusion and forced everyone to ask, who really is Blake Lively when the cameras stop rolling?
That's the Seth side of it. From the Blake side, this idea that she's now being silenced, that she's the voice for all women, that infuriates me. The fact that she's now trying to become the poster child for standing up to what? You had all the control in that set.
I don't know what to say. I feel like right now the people that are most upset with Blake Lively are the real victims that have actually survived domestic violence and other forms of abuse, and then they watch her sitting there being their voice.
For years, the whispers about Blake Lively didn't just float around. They were deliberately buried. Hollywood has a long history of protecting its golden icons, especially the ones with marketable faces and profitable images. And Blake, she was the crown jewel. Brands loved her, studios banked on her, media outlets, they played nice for exclusive access. But now, those whispers are getting louder, and they're damning. Multiple insiders are finally coming forward, anonymously and otherwise. One former assistant speaking to an indie podcast claimed that Blake's team routinely threatened outlets with blacklisting if they ran negative stories. There was a list, she said. Photos that couldn't be published, words that couldn't be printed, names that couldn't be mentioned. It sounds like paranoia until you realize how clean Blake's public record has always been. Suspiciously clean, even by celebrity standards.
And from these appearances, they're telling me anything. You're not suffering any actual work damages. Working just fine for you. People are still asking for your autograph, showing up at premieres. You're just forcing it down our throat. We're seeing it everywhere. So
she, as you know, spoke about her mother and her experience being almost killed by a coworker, that a lot of people now are speculating if that coworker was actually a woman, and Blake never said it was a man. So that might be, which is also one thing that I talked about it before, but I mean.
Then there's the PR machine. Sources allege that after every blow-up, whether it was yelling at a PA, walking off set mid-scene, or being caught in a passive-aggressive feud with another A-lister, Blake's team would orchestrate a media distraction, a pregnancy photo shoot, a cooking video with her kids, a glowing Vogue spread, always just in time to drown out the controversy. And if that wasn't enough, several journalists are now admitting that their Blake interviews came with strict conditions. No questions about conflicts, no questions about past co-stars, and absolutely nothing about the 2017 incident in Montreal. Wait, what happened in Montreal? No one knows for sure. But the fact that it's off limits says more than silence ever could.
That's kept me strong and helped me in my belief in my fight for the world to be safe for women and girls. It's a pretty simple thing, but nothing. Thank you. It's true.
And I think for all, like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way.
Industry insiders are calling it the Gwyneth Paltrow treatment, a curated goddess image guarded by a network of publicists, managers, and corporate allies. But here's the twist. Unlike Paltrow, Blake isn't selling wellness. She's selling wounded innocence. And it's working, until now. Because once people start connecting the dots, the facade crumbles. A smiling face on a magazine cover suddenly looks rehearsed. A tearful moment in an interview seems like acting. And the girl next door, she starts to look more like a ghostwriter's invention than a real person. Now, the question isn't if the whispers are true. It's how long the industry will keep protecting her, while the rest of us are finally listening.
Share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent. But
fear is from you. Everyone is terrified of you and Ryan. They are terrified. More on that in a second, but this is, a late night comedy show. But he's making it clear at the gate, I don't know all the details. Just, hello, audience, I don't know all the details. But
I'm thrilled you're not doing Weekend Update right now, because you would be quite informed. So it's good, yeah.
And now, the money's starting to walk away. Brands that once drooled over Blake Lively's wholesome image are suddenly quiet. Her face is still on some campaigns, but behind the scenes, there's a chill in the air. When reputations implode, sponsors scatter, and Blake's sponsors, they're reading the headlines, they're seeing the outrage, and they don't want the smoke. One major cosmetics brand reportedly paused a global ad campaign just 48 hours after Seth Meyers' interview aired. The reason? Reputation risk. In marketing terms, that's code for this person might go nuclear. Internally, emails are flying. A fashion label that once hosted her for private fittings has removed all social media posts mentioning her. And a luxury watch company is said to be reviewing their relationship after backlash from domestic abuse survivors flooded their comments section.
hard to see what you're really suffering through. Because if anybody's suffering, it's clearly the guy who's now lost his agency, his jobs, isn't out there doing anything, that's the one who's clearly losing things based on your ridiculous accusations.
Yeah.
There's something with birthdays.
Okay.
She's the funniest person in the world, but she will definitely like rule the world with authoritarian leadership.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
I wonder where she got that from. I wonder where she got that from. She will rule the world with authoritarian, you heard her, a leadership.
This isn't about cancel culture. It's about capitalism. These brands built their campaigns on Blake's Golden Girl aura. But now that aura's looking radioactive, sponsorships are transactional, not loyal. And when the brand lift turns into brand damage, executives run for the hills. Even Netflix, where Blake had a multi-year production deal, has gone suspiciously silent. No tweets, no features, no posts. One insider says the company is monitoring the situation closely, which is usually corporate speak for, we're figuring out how to quietly walk away. And what about Blake's own brand deals? Well, here's where it gets messier. Several of her products, skincare lines, collabs, limited edition merch, are facing backlash in reviews. Exploiting trauma for clout, wrote one furious buyer on a product page. Another said, if you're a real survivor, you don't wear $300 loungewear to heal.
Like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way.
Everyone seems to have a problem with you. Do you have a problem with ice? Would have been funny.
Really,
I really like ice too.
in my milk.
I think the first time we got an ice machine in a refrigerator.
Anyway, they go on a whole monologue about ice. Blake Lively starts quoting and singing from Frozen, and it even quotes our honest trailer, "We are making ice."
This isn't just a PR dip, it's an identity crisis. Blake built her brand on trust, on the illusion that she was untouched by Hollywood corruption. But now that illusion is cracked, and trust, once broken, is hard to buy back, no matter how much glitter you throw on it. The sponsors may not say it out loud, but the message is clear. Blake Lively is becoming unprofitable. And in Hollywood, that's the one sin no one forgives. In Hollywood, silence speaks louder than words. And lately, the silence around Blake Lively is deafening, but not everyone's staying quiet. The fallout from Seth Meyers' interview didn't just ripple through the media, it detonated a bomb inside the celebrity world. A-listers, influencers, and former co-stars are now being forced to pick a side, and it's getting ugly. First came the passive-aggressive unfollows. Within 24 hours of the viral clip, eagle-eyed fans noticed that several high-profile names suddenly vanished from Blake's followers list. Zoe Kravitz, Florence Pugh, even Gigi Hadid. Coincidence? Doubtful. These are stars known for publicly supporting women's rights and advocacy, and now they're distancing themselves from the woman accused of exploiting a movement for her own benefit.
She's so happy that she has this voice. And the worst part was that the audience was really applauding her. Can you imagine being Justin Baldoni and seeing something like that?
And it's the women who have had the ability to use their voice.
Watch this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you catch that at the end? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For real. Thank you so much. Thank you for not screwing me over and making this worse for me.
Then came the not-so-subtle shade. A cryptic Instagram story from Emily Ratajkowski read, "Being beautiful doesn't excuse being manipulative." She didn't name names, but everyone knew. And when actor Pedro Pascal reposted a domestic abuse charity with the hashtag #LetSurvivors fans flooded his comments with fire emojis, applauding his silent stand. But the backlash wasn't one-sided. A small handful of celebs still clung to Blake's defense, most notably Ryan Reynolds, her husband. He posted a black and white photo of Blake smiling, captioned, "Truth always finds the light." Supportive? Sure. But for many, it reeked of damage control. Some even called it PR hostage energy, speculating whether Ryan's team was just trying to contain the blaze before it torched both their careers.
Were I to ask you about it?
The reality is he is. The beginning of his show, A Closer Look, he talks about all sorts of entertainment stories, everything. Of course he knows. He's just saying that, Blake, to get away with being nice to you. Is how I see that, which is very telling. It was not funny or engaging is the reality. Even taking away the drama, it was a very mediocre, bland talk show appearance. And the drama clearly makes it more interesting. There's a curiosity factor, etc. And Seth is definitely doing her the solid of playing softball.
Even Taylor Swift, Blake's longtime best friend, is walking a tightrope. She hasn't posted about Blake since the controversy began. No comments, no stories, no show of support during the gala storm for a friendship that once made headlines. For matching outfits and family holidays, the silence is telling. Fans are already speculating, did Taylor know something all along? The real shocker came when SNL cast member Bowen Yang liked a tweet that read, "If you need a costume to tell your trauma, it's probably not trauma, it's branding." Blake had hosted SNL in the past. That it was a betrayal with a spotlight. Lines are being drawn. And this isn't just a celebrity fallout, it's a cultural fracture. The Golden Girl is no longer untouchable. She's becoming a test. Who supports performative activism? Who actually listens to victims? And who's willing to risk their brand by standing in the fire? Hollywood is watching. Fans are watching. And more importantly, survivors are watching. Seth Meyers didn't just throw a match, he tossed a grenade into the pristine image Blake Lively had spent years crafting, and the explosion is still echoing across the internet. When the usually diplomatic late-night host leaned into the controversy, with razor-sharp precision, no one expected him to go there. But he did, and he didn't hold back. During his now infamous interview segment, Seth started light, but his tone shifted fast. "We have a lot of celebrities coming forward with stories these days," he said, "but the ones that raise red flags are the ones that come wrapped in designer fabric and vague metaphors." The camera zoomed in as the audience went quiet. He didn't name her. He didn't need to.
It started based on bringing up her daughters.
Your daughters ever criticize your outfits?
Oh, yeah. No, one of my daughters has the same birthday as Napoleon and Jennifer Lawrence. So if you imagine those two blended.
Is that how it works? Is that how birthdays work? You blend?
I think so. I don't know. I don't know.
Then came the bombshell. Seth revealed that multiple anonymous crew members had approached his team with stories about Blake's behavior behind the scenes, reports of verbal abuse, diva meltdowns, and one chilling account of her screaming at a child actor on set. That kind of rage, Seth said, isn't something you fake, and it certainly doesn't align with the halo that's been carefully glued to her image. The internet erupted. Clips of the segment went viral within hours. Fans were stunned, critics cheered, and Blake's PR team, radio silent. But the most devastating moment came when Seth looked straight into the camera and said, "We need to stop protecting people just because they're pretty and famous. If someone uses trauma as a brand, they deserve scrutiny, not applause." It was a direct shot, a kill shot, and it hit its mark.
And Seth is definitely doing her the solid of playing softball, is what he's doing here. So plenty of people are gonna be annoyed by him, but he's doing his job. This is what he does. He's getting ratings. He needs ratings.
Some media insiders are now calling the moment a turning point in Hollywood's accountability era. Seth did what others wouldn't, said one journalist. He didn't just call out Blake, he called out the entire machine that built her. Up. Since then, Seth has doubled down. In follow-up interviews, he stood by his words, refusing to apologize despite pressure from Blake's inner circle. "I'm not here to make friends with the PR elite," he said. "I'm here to ask the questions they're too afraid to answer." And the fallout? Legendary. Other talk show hosts are reportedly revising guest lists, wondering if booking Blake is worth the backlash. The late-night landscape has shifted, and one thing is clear: Blake Lively underestimated Seth Meyers. And now, the world is watching her fall from grace in real time, one uncomfortable truth at a time. If Blake Lively thought Seth Meyers' takedown was the worst of it, she clearly hadn't counted on the internet's unmatched ability to dig. Because now, Reddit threads, gossip forums, and even a few brave independent journalists are all zeroing in on something far darker. The Montreal Mystery, an event that Blake's team has fought tooth and nail to erase from public memory. But now, it's boiling back to the surface. Let's rewind to 2016. Blake was filming a romantic drama in Montreal, a project that barely made it to streaming platforms and quietly disappeared. But something strange happened off camera. According to several unverified but consistent anonymous sources, Blake was allegedly involved in an altercation with a local family after an unscheduled shoot ran late into a residential neighborhood. The story goes like this. A child no older than 8 accidentally wandered onto the set, unaware of the boundaries. And what followed? Chaos. Witnesses claimed Blake screamed at the child, shouted at the parents, and demanded the crew keep these people out. One even recalled her allegedly raising her hand as if to strike, a move that was quickly interrupted by a crew member. Yeah, never made headlines. No police were involved. And just like that, the story vanished, buried under NDAs, PR spin, and a few generous donations to local organizations. Classic Hollywood, but now it's resurfaced with a vengeance. A now viral post from a Montreal-based film assistant reignited the flame. detailing the incident with shocking specificity, including wardrobe details, set location, and even the time of day. She wasn't acting, she was raging. The Post read, "That was the day I realized her America's Sweetheart act was just that, an act." Even more damning, a blurry photo from that day surfaced online last week, showing what appears to be Blake, mid-scream, leaning toward a small figure. No context, no clarity, but the image went viral. And in today's cancel-happy culture, perception is reality. Fans are now asking, why did no one talk about this sooner? Why has the media refused to hold her accountable for years of suspicious behavior? What else has been swept under the rug? The Montreal incident has become the epicenter of conspiracy theories and whispered Hollywood rumors. And Blake's refusal to address it? That's only making it worse. This isn't just a PR crisis. It's a reckoning, and the public is demanding answers. Blake Lively wasn't just a celebrity, she was a walking, talking brand. The curated Instagram feeds, the luxury partnerships, the wholesome interviews with Jimmy Fallon. Everything about her public image screamed marketable perfection. But now, the empire she built on likability and lifestyle fantasy is crashing fast. First to go, her brand deals. Insiders report that several major fashion houses are already reevaluating their contracts. One luxury brand even scrubbed her face from an ad campaign overnight. No statement, no explanation, just a quiet retreat from a partnership, once worth millions. Why? Because controversy doesn't sell handbags, especially not when it's laced with alleged abuse and exploitation. Netflix, who had heavily backed Blake's recent streaming film, is reportedly pausing future collaborations. Translation, she's no longer worth the risk. Viewer backlash has led to tanking ratings and thousands of one-star reviews, many citing her insincere activism and narcissistic storytelling as major turnoffs. What was once a media darling has become box office poison. Then there's her lifestyle brand. The once buzzy Goop-style platform she launched is bleeding subscribers. Fans are abandoning it in droves, leaving behind angry comments like, "You lost me the second you commodified trauma," and "I used to look up to you. Now, I see through you." Sales are down, engagement is collapsing, and influencers once eager to collaborate are now distancing themselves like it's radioactive. Even Ryan Reynolds, her closest ally, seems shaken. Sources close to the couple say there's tension behind the scenes, especially as Ryan's own brand could take a hit by association. One anonymous publicist told Variety, "If he doesn't separate himself soon, he risks being pulled into the whirlpool she's created." The fall of Blake Lively isn't just another celebrity cancellation, it's a masterclass in how fast a brand built on false perfection can implode. She played the game. She played it well. But in the age of receipts, silence and rebranding can't erase the truth forever. And now, America's Sweetheart isn't just off her pedestal, she's in free fall.